All right, hey everybody. I'm excited tonight to have a couple of guys here with me. We're going to talk about an important topic. Before we do that, I want to introduce them. To my right, I've got my son Hughes, who was, in my mind, a big part of the Loganville baseball program back in graduated 2015. He got a scholarship, played Division I baseball at Savannah State as a pitcher, and to my left, I've got Logan Maddox, who was on the 2012 state championship team, right, Logan?
Yes, sir.
Was a center fielder and went to Georgia College on a baseball scholarship, and then got drafted by the Houston Astros. You got your Houston Astros gear on, yeah?
I do. I
right.
got it.
It's a little chilly tonight. It's January 10th. And January is a good time to kind of take an evaluation of where you are in life, or if you're an athlete, kind of where you are, sort of a checkup from the neck up, I like to call it. And we're going to talk about, tonight's topic is, what are high school coaches looking for? And the reason for us to talk about that topic is a lot of guys are getting ready for tryouts. Tryouts are getting ready to get started. It's also a good time, like people are setting their New Year's resolutions and their goals for the year. It's a good time to kind of think about, what your brand is. Who are you? Kind of self-evaluate yourself. And when you're talking about a brand in business, they talk about that a lot. And I want to read the definition of brand from a business standpoint. In business, a brand is a combination of things. The identity of what identifies a product differentiates it from its competitors. Over time, this image, keyword image, becomes associated with a level of credibility, quality, and satisfaction, or trust, in a consumer's mind. So, with your brand in mind, or with that in mind, I'd like to turn it over to these guys and talk about the subject of what do you think high school coaches are looking for, and the characteristics of the traits of a high school baseball player. Logan, what are some traits, characteristics you think high school coaches are looking for?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what is your brand as a player. You got to find ways, what fits your strength that make you stick out from the rest of the players on the team. You got to go out there, give it your all, hustle every single play, and find what makes you better than the other players, and show the coaches what you have. I think Albert Einstein said that a man only goes as far as the crowd, or a man who follows the crowd only goes as far as the crowd goes, but a man who walks alone goes as far than he's ever been before. So I feel like that applies to baseball as well. So just go out there and show the coaches what you got, and try to stand out from the rest. The coaches are going to put the best guys on the field, and you finding a role on the field, whether it's cleanup hitter, starting pitcher game one, or even a pinch runner, you got speed. You just got to find your strengths and show the coaches what you have.
So a coach is like a consumer, right? And that trust is an important factor, right?
Exactly, yes.
Connor, what do you think?
I think the first thing would be your athletic ability. If you don't have a whole lot of athletic ability, maybe you're not going to be the best type of player. But if you go and accept your role, that hey, maybe you're a pinch hitter off the bench, or maybe you're base running late in innings, or maybe you're going in as a defensive replacement late in games. I think accepting that and accepting your role on the team is one of the biggest things.
So being coachable is important.
Yeah.
But at the top of the list certainly is your baseball ability, right?
Yeah, that's number one.
Your skills, your speed, your strength, your size in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Your ability to throw a baseball, right?
Exactly. And some players don't have every single tool.
Mm-hmm.
Some players are gonna have more tools than others, but you got to showcase the tools that you have that make you stand out from the rest of the players.
So can you improve your talent, your ability to play the game?
You definitely can. Coming out here and working as hard as you can every single time. Don't take a play off. Don't take a swing off. Don't take a throw off. As hard as you work, that's as far as you're going to get as a player. So if you take a few reps off, they will definitely catch up with you. Towards the end of the season, you'll go in a little slump, and it all comes back to the work that you put in. So don't take off any reps.
I feel like the harder you work, the more you're going to get out of the game at the end of the day. One thing that I found is baseball always kind of shows you the kind of player that you are. If you're not a good player, the game is going to show. If you don't work hard during the week, or you're not working hard at practice, the game is going to show.
I agree. So guys, at the top of the list, got to be talent. And as a coach, That's what I look for a lot of times. Number two has got to be baseball skills, because you can have a guy that may not be the most talented, most fastest, the strongest, or the biggest, but you can have baseball skills and you can work on those. Any other intangibles that you think are important?
I think the mental part of the game is really, really important. Sometimes a guy that may not be as good but has a great mental makeup is going to be better than the guy that has all the physical tools and then their mentality sucks. I mean, I've noticed that coming through here, being at Savannah. Sometimes the best players aren't the guys that have the best physical tools. Sometimes the best players are the guys that have the best mental makeup and can handle baseball, which is a game of failure, and keep coming out and keep chopping wood every single day.
Yeah, that's a great point. What about you, Logan? Any intangibles that you think are important?
I think having a good baseball IQ is important. You might not be the best player on the field, but having the best baseball IQ can get you further. I mean, just watching the major leaguers and just listening to baseball speakers
games
or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you can learn a lot as a player, and you can apply those things on the field to make you a better player, to make up for a lack of skills you may have.
Another one for me is confidence. I think a confident player, I always say, is a good player. And that's something that you can develop, right?
It is.
I mean, some people are just confident, naturally, but
I feel like you get your confidence from the work that you put in.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where. How do you build your confidence? You put the work in, right?
Yeah, you got to prepare the right way and be confident in the preparation to show results on the field.
I made a list of some things that I think are important, if you don't mind me sharing. Of course, you covered talents, baseball ability, attitude and effort. What about character?
Yeah.
Character, definitely. I mean, it's a big thing in baseball. I mean, there's a lot of work that you put in that the coaches aren't watching, and it's really how you go about your work when nobody's watching.
Right.
That's a
That's
person of
the biggest
character.
thing.
So if there's
Yeah.
nobody watching and you take reps off, it's going to show on the field. So whether the
right.
coach is watching or not, you got to give it 110%. Every swing, every throw, every pitch.
You said intelligence. Connor talked about mental strength, which is huge. Passion and energy. You love playing baseball. You love what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, if you have a bad day, that's going to keep you coming back, right?
Yeah, you got to have a short-term memory in baseball. I mean, it's a game of failure for sure, and if you fail, you got to put it behind you. Get ready for the next pitch.
Yeah. Got to have a competitive nature, confidence we talked about. What about swag?
Swag.
Yeah. What do you think about swag?
I mean, you either got it or you don't.
You either pop it or you're not.
Rhett over here, can you point the camera at Rhett? He does
Look at
not
that
have the
guy. Look
swag.
at that guy.
No, I'm kidding. But, I mean, it's just swag. It's just how you go about your day. I mean, having confidence, it goes back to confidence. You got to have your confidence in yourself as well as your team. I mean, swag, it basically comes back to confidence.
At the end of the day, you can tell which guys are confident and which guys
Sure.
aren't. If you got two guys that are equal players, the one that has, I guess you could call it the more swag or most confidence, usually is going to get a little further in the game just because of the way they carry themselves.
I like that. We'll come back to that in a second. But one guy that I think always had swag from in my memory, that you just see him walking, how he walks, how he talks, how he carries himself. Chipper Jones. Guys that are equal. A lot of times that happens at a tryout, and the coach is having to look. Okay, I'm gonna make a decision. Two guys are equal. This guy has baseball talent. This guy has character and work ethic and all of those kind of intangibles. What do you think the coach goes with if you got kind of two guys that are balanced?
I think they go with the player that they can trust the most. And I think that a lot of comes down to hustling. I mean, if a player hustles, a coach is going to trust him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the scrappy players who hustle a lot have an edge up on the big
More
shine light
projectable.
guys who have all the tools that kind of go through the motions sometimes.
So to wrap this up, I think Logan brought up a great point. And at the end of the day, how do I make a team, or how do I get in the lineup? And the answer to that question is, does the coach trust you?
Yeah.
It's the same thing in life. It's the same thing in business. Whatever it is you do, does your boss trust you? Does your wife trust you? Do your kids trust you? You know, that's really the answer at the end of the day. Just like we talked about the brand at the beginning of the talk, does the consumer trust that product? You know, and so you can control a lot of things. Some things you can't control what God gave you, but you can control a lot of those things. On the flip side, let's cover real quick. What do you think of some things that you probably shouldn't do at a tryout or when you're on the team?
Speaking of hustle, what Logan just brought up, if you half-butted around, that looks really, really bad. I mean, if all the guys are running and you're back in the very, very back, I mean, even if something is jogging it out in the beginning of practice, if you're in the very, very back of the line, that just looks bad. You might not think so, but to a coach's eyes, they're going to see, well, this guy doesn't want it. This guy's not hustling. So,
one of my big things that Coach Petty back in my day taught me was you got to look the part. You know, wear your belt, have your shirt tucked in, put the hair under the hat, look the part. Is that important?
yeah, I'd say.
You got to look the part, right? Show up, look the part. But I think that's good. Any other intangibles that, from a negative standpoint, you think you probably shouldn't do?
I mean, yeah, it definitely comes down to hustle. I mean, a lot of the time you can't control the outcome of baseball. So, I mean, what you can control is hustle. So you can control hustling down the first baseline, running after a ball, not taking the play off, just finishing each play, giving it your all. I mean, it might not come out your way, but at least you're hustling through the play.
Thank you. I didn't mean to cut you off. One last thing is, I always taught Connor when he's on the pitcher's mound, if you throw a ball or you hit a guy, don't let anybody know that you're having a bad day, or you're having, you're not on your game. If you hit a guy, you stand up there like you meant to hit that guy.
Because if they know, that's when you fail.
Yeah. Same thing is if a coach is getting on your tail, you make an out, or you hit a pop fly with a guy in scoring position, you don't come in the dugout and pout, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody sees that body language. Body language is a big deal.
I too, outside of baseball.
So you stand out on the field and you be confident, and things will work themselves out. Like you talked about games, a game of failure. Mm-hmm. You just got to stay even keel. And Bobby Cox talked a lot. Bobby Cox always talked about that. Stay even keel. Fred McGriff is one of those guys. You couldn't tell if he's having a bad day or a good day.
Yeah.
So
it's tough sometimes. I mean, a lot of failure. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to stay up. I mean, I'm a victim of it myself. Going in a slump, it's tough to stay up and finding positives about it. Mm-hmm. But you just got to move past it, have a short-term memory, and move on to the next play.
So at the end of the day, the question you got to ask yourself is, how does Coach going to look at me, and what can I do to build trust and for him to see me in a positive light? You guys agree?
I agree.
So I encourage you guys to think about that as you're getting ready for tryouts. Hopefully you're not just now starting to throw. I know here at Loganville they've been doing their 201s or 401s or whatever they call it now, because that's what we do in Loganville. We get to work early, and then when people show up for tryouts, they're ready to roll, right? So shouldn't be any expectation that I'm not going to make the team. You should show up expecting to make the team if you do the things you're supposed to do, right? So these two guys here are great baseball players, great Loganville baseball players. This guy's in the record book. This guy made some great contributions, and of course he's my son, so I'm proud of him. A little bit biased. Same thing with this guy.